He's a steamroller.
And yeah, and he's one of the toughest guys you'll ever meet. And as a quarterback, when your fullback is one of those guys and has that kind of mentality, well, that's what you want, because you want a guy to be able to cut down that defensive end in a hurry.
Already needs a few stitches tonight on his uniform. From the 45, 1st and 10. Green again, back to pass. Lobs one up for Bendros. Just a little too high.
Green had to kind of throw it over the line to Bendros, and Bendros couldn't reel it in. But had he caught this, it was probably only a 3 or 4 yard gain, because look who's coming right up there in a hurry. Baron Miles. Right now, Montreal playing a lot of zone defense, allowing Saskatchewan to throw it underneath.
2nd down and 10. Pass too high, too long for the intended receiver, Jason French. So this time the Alouettes are more successful. Danny Barrett looked like he might have wanted a penalty on the play.
Nealon Green got man coverage there. And when he did, tried to go to French over the middle. But you know what he's done well in the last 2 games has been protect the football. Just 1 interception in 2 games, 5 touchdown passes, and you know you're not going to score every time you have the ball in your hands.
And a whistle. And they'll do it all over again.
Well, Paul McCallum wants a do-over anyway, because that ball went in the end zone. And what he's going to try and do is angle it to the sideline and win this field position.
Saskatchewan, number 39, repeat 3rd down.
This field position war early on in this game. And you don't want Keith Stokes with the ball in his hand too often.
He is the leading punt returner right now in the CFL, Stokes. Of East Carolina.
No touchdowns and punt returns yet this year,
No.
which is surprising. But we'll see some in a hurry.
End over end wobbler. Stokes waits. No yards call there.
Oh!
Fumbles the ball, and a touchdown Saskatchewan, but it's going to be waved off. It looks like a no yards call. And Simon Buffo, who leads the CFL in special teams tackles.
Well, yeah, and Simon Buffo, the backup fullback, #1 special teams tackles. Now, were they inside the 5 yard area, Montreal will get the ball back.
No yards.
Certainly were.
Saskatchewan, number 39, 1st down.
What a pop on Stokes,
Teddy Neptune.
who wisely waited.
Stokes waits for it to bounce around. You see the Riders trying to back up. Well, there's no question. You could have picked 4 or 5 of them. It's only the 5 yard penalty because the ball was bouncing. However, it's still Montreal football, and the touchdown doesn't count.
So with 1:23 left in the first quarter, 7-1 Saskatchewan. Calvillo to Lawrence Phillips, up the left side with some room, up to the 38 yard line.
Well, all the way up to that run, the Saskatchewan defense have been playing pretty well against the Montreal Alouettes, and some changes up front. Chris White is in the lineup playing that tackle position, and Milton gets his 2nd start because Shante Peoples is out. And there's your secondary. Eddie Davis, the only defensive back with an interception so far this season.
18 yard pickup. There's Chris White. Here come the Alouettes. 1st down and 10. 40 seconds left in the quarter. Calvillo looks left. The catch is made by Pat Woodcock.
Well, it's pretty nice for the Montreal Alouettes when you're Jim Pop, the general manager, to have some Canadians like Pat Woodcock, Ben Cahoon, and Corey Grank all in your receiving core and all starters. It allows you to play some imports up on the offensive line like they do with Neil Fort and Azumo KK, and they're looking for big things from Pat Woodcock.
Played at Syracuse, born in Canada, Ontario. 7 seconds, last play, first quarter. Calvillo Goes left side, takes it himself. Big block there from the Alouettes and down to the 40-yard line at the end of the first quarter. A good scamper by Calvillo. So Anthony Calvillo trying to find the end zone with his Alouettes, who trail 7-1 after 1 here on TSN.
Yeah, there goes your buddy Anthony Calvillo running the ball again, getting some positive movement going for the Montreal Alouettes. But credit the Riders, they've gone into a very tough place to play and taken the crowd right out of it early. It seems kind of dead in there right now, and that's because the Riders scored first, and they seem to be the better team so far anyway, Matt.
Oh, they're taking it to the Alouettes in their own backyard, and that's exactly what you want if you're Danny Barrett. Danny Barrett told me last night that his young quarterbacks got total command of this offense, and let me tell you why. He's trusting his eyes here. He sees a linebacker jetted here, means he's on the end line of scrimmage. Another one is jetted here. What he sees here is a big void up in here. And so O'Day, who's back at his natural position for more at center, he's going to get a hat here, and then Lazio's going to get a hat here. And you watch Nealon Green direct traffic here. He sees that. He's going, check, 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 check. He's going to the play, a quick hitter up the middle, take advantage of the void in the center for the offense, and boom, he does the rest. That's an awesome job by a young quarterback, showing me that he's making steps forward.
You know, another thing, too, about the running game, I think the Montreal Alouettes have potential to have the best power running game in the Canadian Football League, but they got to stick with it. Watch this play at Lawrence Phillips. This is the opening play of the first quarter, and watch, Neil Ford on the right side takes his man upfield. The guard, left through, takes his man, gets to the second level linebacker area, locks on that linebacker with great technique, and what do? They gain yards. Magna and Lowe, the two defensive ends for Saskatchewan, are not powerful point-of-attack players. I would run that play forever until they stop at Jog.
Well, you guys are talking about the running game. I want to talk about special teams. You know, the Montreal Alouettes have done it again. Boy, every year they seem to find themselves a dangerous returner. It was Chris Wright, Winston October, D'Amico Archangel. This year, Keith Stokes. Watch him make this move. Now, Omar Morgan right here. He's responsible for short side field contain. It's his job to make sure that doesn't happen. He doesn't do his job. Keith Stokes rips him for a long one.
And he's been ripping a few teams early on. Let's get you back to Molson Stadium for second quarter action.
Well, the Alouettes trying to rip right back. A little bit of a cheerleader delay there as they make their way off the field. We're getting ready for second quarter action. Anthony Calvillo. More of a sustained charge now from the Owls. Up the middle, wide open, and down to the 20-yard line. Ben Cahoon, right now the leading receiver in the CFL.
They love Ben Cahoon here in Montreal, and every time Ben Cahoon catches one, the big cheer is Ben Cahoon, who's going to come all the way across the middle. And he knows one thing when he's going in and has to go back against his body, that he's likely going to get hit.
First catch tonight, and Cahoon's on the sidelines, and he's grimacing.
He had to twist back to catch that ball.
First and 10 from the 21. Dump pass to Phillips. Cuts back the other way to the 10, to the 5-yard line. The Owls now in the red zone.
Lawrence Phillips, you can see what he can do with the ball in his hands, and we can go back a couple plays, and I can show you what Lawrence Phillips can do without the ball in his hands as well, because Phillips, he made the key block on Anthony Calvillo's run for 15 yards 2 plays ago, just before the end of the quarter. Phillips right there, number 11, is going to peel back and hit Travis Smith. Right there. Good block on that run, and then you saw the run there to get him right down when he has the ball in his hands.
So first and goal. Phillips on the pitch. To the end zone. Touchdown, Montreal. So a play engineered by Calvillo, finished off by Phillips.
Nice balance in the drive from Anthony Calvillo, but Lawrence Phillips, the key player in a lot of ways. Not only carrying the ball, catching it out of the backfield, but also blocking for Calvillo.
Terry Baker, the extra point, and now Lawrence Phillips and the Montreal Alouettes have an 8-7 lead. This is Wendy's CFL Live on TSN. So Lawrence Phillips is making Don Matthews look like a genius so far in Montreal.
Well, no question.
Not that he wasn't a genius beforehand.
Yeah, there's no question Lawrence Phillips can play. I mean, his sixth pick overall back in '96 with the Rams. I mean, he's got it all. We saw it all on that drive.
Corey Holmes taking the Baker kick, and he gets a lick at the 34-yard line. Return of 24 yards on the 65-yard kick. So it will be Nealon Green trying to answer what Calvillo did. So far, these two marquee quarterbacks have shown up tonight.
Yeah, and I think for Nealon Green now, Rod, he's got to be patient because the Montreal Alouettes, for the most part, are showing him a lot of zone defense. In other words, defensive backs that are dropping to an area on the field. And when you do that defensively, offensively, you got to be patient and dump the ball to the open man and let him run with it.
4 of 8 right now for Nealon Green. Goes right. Catch is made. And a gang tackle on the other side.
You know, and that's another example of a big hit there by Reggie Durden on the outside, but that's where Nealon Green has to just dump that ball. He knows his receivers are going to take a pounding, and maybe they break a tackle on their own and can pick up first down yardage. But against zone, this is what the zone will give you. They'll give you the underneath pass. It's called 5 yards and a headache.
Right now that headache goes to Demetrius Vendras on that lick. But 2nd down and 6 yards now. Back in the pocket. This time to Derek Armstrong. A little shake and bake near center field. First down, Saskatchewan.
Well, it's surprising a little bit that Nealon Green hasn't just asked Derek Armstrong to take off and run down the field.
Well, before tonight, Derek Armstrong only had 4 catches, but 2 of them were for touchdowns, and 1 was for 100 yards.
100-yard touchdown reception. Last week, 134 yards, had those 2 touchdowns and just 3 catches, and had 1 catch in week 1. But he's still learning the game, but boy, can he do it athletically.
Handoff inside, and that's Holmes into the game. Corey Holmes getting some time at tailback.
Well, see, here's the nice balance between Corey Holmes and Cedric Shaw. Holmes right here, just going to take it on the counter. He goes right up in there, little delayed draw to Corey Holmes, and then he's got the great quickness and moves in the hole. Cedric Shaw, more of a slashing style running back. Hits it up in there hard and is more physical.
Holmes in the backfield again, in motion now. 1st and 10 from the 40. Handoff this time to Zarka, and the Alouettes were not fooled a bit. Tackle made by Rob Brown.
Zarka is running basically the same play as Holmes did, and what Nealon Green is trying to do. Zarka didn't get any yardage, but I want to show it to you again because this is the play. Running back that way, quarterback out this way after he gives him the ball. Now Nealon Green, after this, as soon as he's influenced the defensive ends and he thinks that it's going to be run every time, he will keep the ball.
Now in the shotgun, 2nd and 11 from the 41. Green. Lots of heat. Ball is down, a fumble. And Saskatchewan recovers, but Nealon Green had a ton of red jerseys around him.
Well, yeah, because Montreal had all-out blitz, and they were all on the line of scrimmage. I show you exactly how the Montreal Alouettes lined up. You know what they said to Nealon Green? They said, look at this. We're all coming. There's no disguise there. It's a full-out blitz, and here's the game now. You've got to get the ball out of your hands before we get home. And it didn't happen. And it was Tim Strickland stripped that ball, but Mikowski recovered it for the Riders.
So McCallum back to punt from his 53-yard line.
Whoa,
has to get it away quickly. Looked like it was partially blocked. Stokes has watching the ball go out of bounds, but I'll tell you what, McCallum is going to go talk with the official. He felt he was hit.
No penalty on the play as long as the ball is touched.
Tomorrow night, Wednesday's Friday Night Football from Iverwin. Calgary Stampeders and the Hamilton Tiger Cats. 7 o'clock Eastern, 4 Pacific. Welcome back to Montreal. Alouettes begin on their own 17-yard line. They lead 8-7. Calvillo, wide open, is Thomas Haskins, who still is in bounds and is down at the 49-yard line.
Now the Riders go to a zone defense, and it's Calvillo who has to drop the ball to Thomas Haskins. Thomas Haskins is going to come across the middle right here. When he gets all the way across the field, he is now outrun past all the defenders, including Ladolphus McCallum. See, number one, he went way too far out of his zone, and now because he's out of his zone, Haskins has the outside.
So Calvillo hands once again to Phillips. Shakes over midfield. Down to the Saskatchewan 53, pickup of 8 yards.
This defensive line for the Saskatchewan Roughriders is now sort of settling in. They got a good start to the game. Chris White is the newcomer, has some experience in the NFL, but he's a big boy at 285, and this is his first CFL game. And it doesn't take long with 20-second huddles before Chris White may be running to the oxygen tank. And that's how you wonder, how will they hold out throughout the whole game?
Out Nate Davis and Shante Peoples, and you know what Peoples can do. 8:18 to go, second quarter. Phillips, handoff, pitch back, downfield for Woodcock, and an interference call.
Ladolphus McCallum is definitely going to want this one back.
Woodcock was definitely shadowed closely by McCallum. Oh, they're calling it offense. I'd like to take a look at this again.
Well, you see, Pat Woodcock had his back to us going down the sideline in the spotter's booth, so they're hand fighting. Here's a good look at it. Here's the ISO. Now, Ladolphus McCallum did not bite on that little fake from Pat Woodcock. Now they're hand fighting down the field. McCallum trying to get position.
Montreal, number 16.
You could have called it either way. And the reason I say that is because Ladolphus McCallum did not look back to the ball when it arrived. Both were hand fighting down the field.
Good play, a little razzle-dazzle there, but Woodcock wasn't exactly wide open.
No, he wasn't. And that's what you expect to happen in that style of play, that the defensive backs are watching the running back, they jump up, and Woodcock's wide open. Ladolphus McCallum bought a bit of a break, but was in perfect coverage.
So 3rd and 2 here. Calvillo and the Alouettes are deciding to go after it. Now the officials are going to come up and talk about placement.
Yeah, and it looked like Thomas Haskins was over there talking to Ben Cahoon, and Calvillo trying to figure out and make sure he has the right personnel on the field for the play that is designed and the play that he has called. So now he's going to have to huddle them all back up. Don Matthews, I don't believe, had the right personnel. Haskins has to go back off the field now, and that's where he's heading. And Bruno Heppel comes in because they want a bigger blocking guy on what will be likely a running play.
So a 3rd down play here, key one, at the 53 for the Alouettes. No problem for Phillips. Spin around the down to the 40. Lawrence Phillips is eating up the yards here tonight.
Well, Lawrence Phillips is so good at the cutback. And here comes the cutback. Neil Fort comes out. Bruno Heppel with a good block right there. Watch the cutback right there. Cuts right back on a dime, gives you a little change, and gets the first down.
It will be 1st and 10 from the Saskatchewan 41. 5 carries for 54 yards for Lawrence Phillips.
We haven't even got to the halfway mark.
No, 7 minutes to go, second quarter. Calvillo takes it himself up the middle. Anthony Calvillo down to the 22-yard line. caught the Riders sleeping up the middle.
Lawrence Phillips' production so far in this game is now influencing the Saskatchewan defense. Phillips has vacated, and look at this right here. That is Reggie Hunt. Reggie Hunt is taken off to go and find where Phillips is, and he is not even looking anymore at Anthony Calvillo. And now the lane is wide open down Main Street for Calvillo to take off and run.
The only person close to him was official Bill Hagens. So a big gain, 17 yards for Calvillo. Dump pass to guess who? Down to the 9, and Lawrence Phillips, the receiving end of a Calvillo dump pass. And once again, the Alouettes threatening to score.
Well, you know, Travis Smith has got a double-edged sword to deal with, and he's wearing number 11. Because he's not sure if Lawrence Phillips is going to run the ball on this play or if he's going to release into the pattern.
Phillips goes out. Mike Pringle will come into the ball game. First and goal for the Alouettes, who trailed 7-0, but have taken charge since that time. Pringle gets the call. Gain of a couple of yards for Mike Pringle, moving closer to CFL history every time he touches the ball.
Yeah, he really is, and he's probably a couple of years away from George Reed in the yardage category, but he could tie George Reed if he could get into a game on a consistent basis. He could tie George Reed when it comes to 100-yard rushing games. That's how close he is to the great George Reed.
Well, Lawrence Phillips is closer to that 100 yards tonight so far in this first half. 5 minutes to go, second quarter. From the 6-yard line. And a good tackle by number 21, Jason Mallett. Pat Woodcock has become the receiver of choice in this first half for Anthony Calvillo. They must be doing a good job on Ben Cahoon.
Yeah, they're spending some more attention with Cahoon, and if Jason Mallett doesn't make this tackle, obviously Woodcock's in the end zone, and that's a long way for Mallett to get over there to cover him. That was a tough pattern for Jason Mallett to track down Pat Woodcock.
So third down, and the Alouettes will go for it, looking for the end zone. Calvillo himself. Touchdown, Alouettes. Well, the Montreal Alouettes did not look sharp in the first 5 minutes. They didn't have the football. Once they got the football, Calvillo has taken control.
I can't emphasize enough how important Lawrence Phillips has become. Watch how he influences defenders. Both defenders step outside to Lawrence Phillips, and that opens the lane for Calvillo.
Extra point, Terry Baker. Phillips and Calvillo night tonight at Molson Stadium. 15-7 Owls.
I'm going to show you two guys right here. Look at Colin Scribner right there and Reggie Hunt. These are the two players in charge of Phillips on this angle. Go ahead and run it, guys. Now here how they're influenced. If you stop it right here. See now, too far upfield for Colin Scribner and Reggie Hunt. Over there trying to get Lawrence Phillips, opens up a lane for Anthony Calvillo because both defenders are worried about number 11.
Corey Holmes, fumble, gets it back. And Saskatchewan will try to mount a drive from their 20-yard line. But Anthony Calvillo used to be Batman, or maybe Mike Pringle was Batman and Calvillo was Robin, whatever. There's a new, Batman's the same, but there's a new Robin now. His name's Lawrence Phillips.
You're absolutely right about that. And it, you know, when you get the good combination, it takes so much pressure off your quarterback to have a successful running back and a guy who's getting it for you. No question, Mike Pringle can do a lot of the same things in that respect. But right now, it's been the Lawrence Phillips story. Both catching the ball, blocking, and running out of the backfield.
I think it's a great credit to Calvillo and his talents that he can adapt to another talent in the backfield and have success. 15-7 Montreal. Nealon Green with a pitch to Cedric Shaw, who takes it up to the 34-yard line for Saskatchewan.
And it was almost a disastrous fumble there on that special teams play that the Riders got out of, because if Calvillo gets the ball in the 20-yard line here, this thing gets ugly early. But Nealon Green has a chance, if not to answer with points, at least get some field position back, because with 3:27, there's plenty of time for maybe one more drive for the Riders.
Gain of 11 for Shaw. And up the middle, the Riders go.
Starting to look a lot like the old Veer offense for both teams. You see a lot of option plays. Calvillo on the touchdown to Lawrence Phillips, and now Nealon Green doing a lot of it.
Fun football to watch, though.
It's a lot of fun because it creates another weapon, and the weapon is the running quarterback. Calvillo can do it, not quite as good as Nealon Green can do it, but he can do it. And of course, Green is an expert at it.
So the 3-minute warning here before halftime. We'll step aside and come back to Molson Stadium. The four heads of Mount Rushmore coming up at the half.
And, you know, I want to welcome you back to the football broadcast booth. Rod Black and the...
Hey, now I know why you guys like this gig.
You see? We've got the guys, we got the panel, we got the game, we got some cheerleaders for you.
Hey, you're the best, Suits. Nealon Green to Derek Armstrong. Right now you can see the Saskatchewan Roughriders really trying to hang on to the football. They've had a little case of dropsy here early on that hasn't hurt them that much. Trailing 15-7.
Well, it's a good thing Derek Armstrong opened up when he did, because Nealon Green paid the price from Stephon Reed, who is the player of the week in the CFL after week 2 for 9 tackles versus the Toronto Argonauts.
1st and 10 from the Saskatchewan 44. 2.5 minutes to go before halftime. Green. Catch made by Jason French. Pickup of 7 yards.
And it's a pretty strong arm from Nealon Green to get that football out there, and he does it so nonchalant. Look at this. 1, 2, 3, and little flick of the wrist. That flick of the wrist just traveled about 45 yards.
Is it my imagination, or does Nealon Green look a lot like his coach, the way he played?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And Green may be a better runner, but they throw the ball very similarly.
Nealon Green will come over to the sideline and chat with Danny Barrett.
Of course, Danny Barrett played 163 games in Canadian football and threw 133 touchdown passes in his career.
He would have a good idea as a coach what it would be like to be very versatile. He was also a receiver for a while.
Yeah, he was. He was a very good athlete, all-around athlete. Played receiver in Calgary. And in fact, when he moved into the coaching ranks in BC, they had to call him back. They had some injury problems, so he dressed for the second half of the year there.
How much pressure is on him this year, though, especially with their 5-12-1 record 2 years ago, 6-12 last year. They got off to a great start.
Yeah,
it's the great start is obviously key for the Saskatchewan Roughriders and Danny Barrett's future employment, you would think.
Absolutely right, and it was the case where they had to win. And when you look at the record going in, 5 wins, 6 wins. But this is year 3, and in year 3 for a coaching staff that's been together, that's the time you got to go, or else people start talking about changes.
Well, it's been a great start to the new season, trying to play comeback here. Up the middle on a 2nd and 3. Not so sure that depending on the spot here. It doesn't look like it from here.
I don't think so. A little second effort from Chris Zarka got him up there close to force a measurement. But it might be another situation that Danny Barrett is looking at a gamble.
Early in the ball game, the Riders benefited from a penalty call, and this is a long yard for the Saskatchewan Roughriders with 2:15 to go before the half.
Now remember, Rod, when they went on it, 3rd down gamble in the first quarter, they didn't get it, and Montreal had lined up offside. So you got to think in that offensive line, that's in the back of their mind, and for the defense, they're saying, listen, we stopped them in this situation once. Just line up on side on the right side of the line, we may be able to do it again. So it becomes more of a gamble because of the psychological game.
Trailing by 8, just over 2 minutes left, 2nd quarter. 3rd and a long yard for Green and the Riders. Hand off to Zarka.
Oh, yeah.
At first it looked like he was stopped, and then the second effort easily got the first down.
It's pretty tough to stop the Zarka train, though. When the Zarka train gets going, it's awful tough. I mean, Zarka got 4 yards on 2 carries there. 4 tough yards.
But another flag on the play.
Yeah, that was deeper, that flag. Closer to the defensive secondary. And it came late.
Glenn Johnson, the official
Agent foul,
tonight.
Unnecessary roughness. Montreal number 9. First down.
Wayne Shaw, I thought that flag was deep. It came after the play. So it had to be Wayne Shaw battling out there with Derek Armstrong. They've been lined up together pretty much all night. But the Zarka train gets the first down for the Riders, a big one.
So net gain is 20 yards. Down to around the 36, 1st and 10. Inside 2 minutes now. Green rolling right. Blitz is on. Flags are down. Throws it away.
Well, it's going to be procedure likely against the Saskatchewan Roughriders because Nealon Green wanted the ball before he actually got it. He called for the ball in the shotgun formation. He didn't get it, and that threw the timing off for the receivers that were in motion. The only way out of this one, I believe, is if Montreal lined up in the neutral zone.
Riders began this ball game. Impressive march. Took the early lead.
Saskatchewan, number 25. Offside. Montreal on the defense. A replay first down.
In basketball, you would shoot technical free throws on that.
Well, that was about as far away from what it looked like it was that it could possibly be. Tripping. I didn't think they played long enough to have a tripping call on that, but apparently the officials saw something in that offensive and defensive line play. Push the Riders back.
Be 1st and 15 from the 41. Flag on the play again. Green scampering to the 30. Suddenly we're seeing a lot of orange cloth.
Well, there's been quite a battle going on. We saw Wayne Shaw with a penalty earlier, and just talk about the contact and what happens on the field. Even in plays like this, there's a penalty. We'll let the refs sort it out. But Derek Armstrong and Wayne Shaw have been battling. I just want to show you a little bit of that battle. There's Armstrong, there's Shaw. Watch this battle that's going on right now.
Offside. Montreal
Pow!
number 78.
Oh, my goodness.
That's away from the play.
Second down.
On a quarterback draw. It ends up being offside against Montreal, but that's some of the contact happens away from the play.
Maybe some retaliation for that earlier play against Armstrong, too.
Let's show you one more time. Bah!
Wow. So 2nd down 5 from the 31. Green looks right. Pass is caught by Armstrong, and suddenly this Armstrong-Shaw matchup is a good one to watch.
Yeah, baby. Now we got some game inside the game going on the outside. See Derek Armstrong, he made his presence known physically the play before, and now he's got inside position right here on Wayne Shaw, who's scrambling just to catch up and make the tackle. Now the games continue.
1st and 10 from the 19. Green play action, goes left, and he's gone to the end zone. Nealon Green with the touchdown, and the Riders are right back in it. And no one was around. That was right up St. Catherine Street.
I know the only guy who's not surprised is Don Matthews. You saw him walk up calmly saying, this is what Nealon Green can do for you. Because if you could have everyone covered downfield, little play action, and outside he goes. I believe it was Mark Megna. Not one player in the vicinity as Nealon Green basically could have walked in.
Wow. Nealon Green doing it for the Riders tonight. Some big gains, and that's what we expected before the game.
What a drive by the Saskatchewan Roughriders when it looked like the Alouettes had all the momentum. They're coming back. Mark Megna is the only guy that has a chance on Nealon Green, and look where he goes. He sees play action to Cedric Shaw, and he's going. Cedric Shaw's got the, whoa! I had to put the brakes on because I have no help out there, and as you can see, look at this, look at this. No one. That's 30 yards each side. Both those officials won't tackle. And there's Megna going, it was my fault, it was my bad. Now I got to try and catch up, and I'm not going to catch him.
Really interesting how that has happened to both sides tonight, and an interesting dynamic to Canadian Football League play, the ability of a scrambling quarterback and that play action and how it can screw defenses up.
Well, no question, because it puts those defensive ends on an island with a good running quarterback. It's awful tough for them.
Stokes again, still on his feet, finally down with a minute to go. It is 15-14 Montreal. And the two quarterbacks have been putting on a show. Anthony Calvillo and Nealon Green.
Well, he just looks like so much more confident, Nealon Green, than I've seen last year. Plays 10. 88 yards. Nealon Green moved that football down and then ran it in himself to cap off the drive on the 19-yarder.
Montreal, number 5 on the return. First down.
He just looks so confident walking up and down that sideline right now, talking to his teammates, being the great leader that you're expected to be from that position.
Well, it's the most important position. You talk about it all the time in the CFL, how important it is to your team's success. And obviously tonight, look at 83 pass yards, 53 rushing yards for Nealon Green. First and 10 from the 23, just over a minute to go in the second quarter. Calvillo finds Cahoon.
Calvillo has plenty of time with a minute 2 to go as he goes into the hurry-up offense to go down and at least get field goal range.
That guy makes me sick, by the way, Anthony Calvillo.
Why?
Makes me sick.
Why? What's
because
wrong?
He's like you. Everything goes right in his life, and he's still, not even in football. He got a hole-in-one last week.
Oh, did he really?
Yeah. At LaFleur Country Club here.
What do you mean he's just like me?
Just like you. You know, everything you walk down the street, the sun's always shining. You know, you go to get a rent-a-car, you get a Porsche. Everything in your life happens for reasons. It's just because you're a good person. Obviously, Calvillo's a good person.
Okay, I guess.
He got a hole-in-one.
Well,
125 yards last week.
That he is. He is a good guy. He's a great guy to sit and talk football with. And I've never had a hole-in-one. I've had a 9 on a couple of par 3s and things like that. I've never had a
but you will. It'll happen. To all good guys come good things.
Well, good for Anthony Calvillo, and I think he is hoping that luck or good fortune or however you want to call it continues here tonight.
Well, a hole-in-one last week, and tonight he's found a couple of holes in the Saskatchewan defense, particularly on that last touchdown. It was a very close ball game, as we expected from two undefeated teams coming in. I don't think a lot of people expected the Roughriders to get off to such a blazing start this season, and this is kind of a litmus test tonight for this team.
It really is. It's a chance to see if you're for real.
2nd and inches. And they will move the yardsticks.
Yeah, and I'm not taking anything either away from their 2 wins Saskatchewan has had, because they went into Ottawa in a hostile situation there in that first game back for the Ottawa Renegades and took it to overtime, won that a close one, and then beat the defending champions. I mean, I know they've made some changes in Calgary, but they're the defending champions till someone knocks them off.
Calvillo has to run again. This time, another first down, gets up to the 45-yard line for the Alouettes. 45 seconds to go. The Owls, though, you know, a lot of talk, as much as they are one of the favored teams, you would think, in the East. Remember, they lost 8 straight to end last season.
That's right.
Which forced the coaching change, of course. They beat BC and Toronto, who haven't exactly been heavyweights so far this season.
No, and so they have to get and see how they are up against a good Saskatchewan team, and that's what Don Matthews is looking to see right now. How do we fare against teams that are having success this season? And as you can see by the score at 15-14, we're going to have to wait till the final gun, folks, to tell you that answer.
Well, speaking of BC and Toronto, we have an illegal substitution call, so the Alouettes will go back. What about that kickoff or field goal attempt in that ball game the other night at BC Place?
Matt Kellett, you know, he went right after the game and basically said, you know, I want to apologize to my teammates. I mean, every player's gone through it. If you've played, you've had games like that. How do they bounce back from it now is the question.
So 1st and 20 for Calvillo. And this time, Bobby Newcomb can't hang on to it.
know, Calvillo, other than this penalty, had a golden opportunity. He was about 2 first downs away. He gets pushed back on that penalty, and now he's looking at second in a whole bunch.
Yeah, that one should have been caught. Bobby Newcomb, another Nebraska product. Nebraska's been a good school for the Montreal Alouettes over the years. Hand inside to Lawrence Phillips, former Cornhusker. Under 30 seconds, so the Alouettes will have to punt the ball away.
Now, depending on this return, there's two schools of thought here. Saskatchewan can put everybody on the line of scrimmage and try and block this punt, try and create a big special teams play, and then just recover it at the other end. Or put 2 receivers back there to receive the punt. Try and get a big return with maybe 12 seconds left. One play, you get in field goal range.
Corey Holmes is back. Keep in mind, though, he's had a couple of slippery fingers tonight.
Well, they're also putting Ladolfius McCalla at about midway between Corey Holmes and the line of scrimmage.
Clock is running. Terry Baker will let it go down as
well. Baker can take a penalty here. Sure, he can take the delay of game if he wanted to. That yardage is not going to make a big difference.
High punt to Holmes, who is smothered right away.
And that will be that for the first half. Exactly what we expected, Rod. 2 hot teams coming in with 2 hot quarterbacks, and both are showing why. They put drives together, and it's a 1-point game.
Yeah, the marquee guys have lived up to the billing tonight. Calvillo and Nealon Green, both with touchdowns so far. The hometown leads right now by 1. This is Wendy's CFL Live on TSN.
At the Half is brought to you by Wendy's. Wendy's Classic Double with Cheese is made fresh right when you order it. It's better here.
And welcome back to our Wendy's CFL studios. Dave Randolph with you, Chris Schultz down there, Matt Dunnigan in the middle, and Jock Climby here. We got a good ball game. Couple of 2-0 teams going at it. It looked as though Montreal was going to start taking over this football game, but Saskatchewan gets back into it with a touchdown by Nealon Green. It's a 1-point game. However, the story right now, Matt Dunnigan, is the influence that Lawrence Phillips is having on the game.
Yeah, and Anthony Calvillo is doing an exceptional job of using this young man down in scoring territory. We're going to take a look at it. In the first quarter, I showed you Nealon Green doing his thing at the line of scrimmage. Let me show you what Anthony Calvillo does. He comes to the line with a check with me. What he sees here is 3 down linemen. It's the Bear defense. Guard, center, guard are covered down. That means you got 1 man on both sides in the line of scrimmage. AC is going to audible to this side, and he's going to basically pitch off the end man on the line of scrimmage. And there you see him audibling. He sees it. Check him in the line of scrimmage. He goes left. You see Bruno Heppel's going to come out here. Reggie Hunt's going to try to take that big redwood down right here to create some havoc in the backfield, but it's too late. AC is going to give it up to Lawrence Phillips, and then Ray Jacobs won't win that race any day of the week. That's a super job by a veteran quarterback using his people down the stretch. And Jock, it's Anthony at his best in that situation.
Oh, exactly. And using his people is key. I talked at the top of the show about how Anthony wants to establish whether it's man or zone at the snap of the ball. Here he's got a play set up which does exactly that. He's going to run crossing patterns with his 2 receivers. Thomas Haskins is underneath at 5 yards. Ben Cahoon is over the top at 6 yards trying to pick his man. But what happens is the man trailing Haskins actually stumbles. There's actually no one there for Ben Cahoon to pick, which means that Thomas Haskins is away to the races. When you've got a man coverage, when you've got 2 crossing patterns like that, all you need is for 1 guy to slip, fall down, or get picked off, and it's a big gain. I'm not talking about 5 or 6 yards, we're talking 20 or 30 yards.
And Jock, I'm excited for the Saskatchewan Roughriders because it's rare in the recent history that you saw a Saskatchewan Roughrider team compete this well with the Montreal Alouette team. It's 15-14. One of the reasons is they do have established running backs. One of them, Corey Holmes, is having a good night. Watch this play as he attacks the line of scrimmage. For all you young running backs, he runs this to perfection. Why? Because as he gets to the line of scrimmage, he makes sure that the linebackers commit to the line of scrimmage, which allows him to bounce the play outside. See how he made his decision at the last possible moment. A lot of times what happens with running backs is they see the one hole, they have to get through it, but they don't set up their blocks and they don't make the defensive personnel commit. If Nealon Green can run and you get 2 running backs, Cedric Shaw and this Corey Holmes kid, I think the Saskatchewan Roughriders have some great offensive potential there, David.
No kidding. You throw in Nealon Green, the way he can run, you can see why they could afford to get rid of Darren Davis and Rock Preston. They got a nice 1-2 punch there, that is for sure. We're going to take a quick break. We'll update you on the other game that's going on in the CFL tonight. Lawrence Phillips leads the CFL with 5 touchdowns. It's 15-14 at the half. They're playing at Frank Clair Stadium. They're at the half between Winnipeg and Ottawa. The Renegades still looking for that first ever win. They had a 17-0 lead before Milt Stiegel scored late in the second half. So, you know, you kind of got to wonder. The last week, Ottawa had an 18-point lead in Edmonton. They led Edmonton back into it, and we'll see what happens. Keep our eyes on that one in the second half to see if Ottawa can get the job done tonight at home. Tomorrow night, Wendy's Friday Night Football will be taking you to Hamilton for the Calgary Stampeders, another team that's looking for their first win of the season. They are 0-2, the defending Grey Cup champs, stumbling out of the gate. They are struggling big time with their defense. Hamilton lost last week in Winnipeg, Schulte. They did not look good in the process. The score wasn't certainly a little bit closer than the game would have indicated, and they want to improve all.
Why did Hamilton lose? Mistakes.
And
mistakes,
urgency.
David. Urgency. They will have urgency, and they will make less mistakes. I hate to make predictions, although I do it all the time, but I predict that Hamilton will come through with a much better game. If they did not make those special teams mistakes against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers last week, they could have won it. On Wednesday, Coach Lancaster ripped into his team. What does that mean, ripped into your team? That means he lost his temper big time. He wanted them to practice at a more professional level, and he wanted them to eliminate the mistakes. I will be shocked if Hamilton doesn't go out there and play a better game with less penalties, because that has been the issue all week, and teams respond to their priority directive. Less mistakes for Hamilton there, Matt.
Chris, I'm sure you could have taken Ron Lancaster's speech to his team and applied it in Calgary, because I'm sure Wally Buono was doing a little ripping himself back there, because his defense is not characteristic of the Calgary Stampeders at this point of the season. They're giving up almost 500 yards per game, over 200 yards on the ground, and that was the difference last week. They did not control the line of scrimmage, and Saskatchewan simply dominated, especially in the fourth quarter, putting up 117 yards on that defense of Calgary's. They're looking for a better effort out of those boys on the road in Hamilton this week for sure, Jack.
Well, you're right. Both coaches probably are very displeased right now, and I know Hamilton can expect more out of 2 guys. It sounds like a broken record, but McManus to Flutie. It's very key for these guys. Now, Flutie's got 8 catches going into this game. So-so, but McManus is at 48%. That is uncharacteristic of him. He is normally over 50%. In fact, you have to go back 8 years to find when McManus threw under 50% in the season. Now, we're early yet, but I predict that these guys are going to pick it up soon, and if they do, they'll come up with a win.
And Calgary knows it's early. They started last season very slowly and won the Grey Cup. However, certainly they'd like to get a win on the board tomorrow night in Hamilton. If you're in the Hamilton area and don't already have your tickets, why don't you give that number a call right there, or in Montreal, or Ottawa, or Toronto, or in the West as well. Get out there and see some live CFL action. We'll be back with more. You're watching Wendy's CFL Live. The halftime numbers are brought to you by Moore's Men's Clothing. Well-made, well-priced, well-dressed. Matt Dunnigan, what do you see over there?
That's pretty easy, Dave. It's a close ball game, a 1-point ball game. Why? Because the stats are basically completely even. Super job by both teams having ball security, no turnovers. This is anybody's game up to this point.
It's a pretty good game so far. Let's hear what Don Matthews had to say to Brent Wallace.
I must be very happy with the way Lawrence Phillips has played in the first half.
Yeah, Lawrence is playing well. Defensively is what we have to look at. We're giving way too much on the run, letting Nealon scramble the ball, so we got to shore up our defense right now.
Is it the frustrating part that it looked like you had the momentum in the first half and you give up the late touchdown?
Yeah, a lot of, it's a long game, so we understand things are going to go both ways, but hopefully we'll make the right adjustments.
Thanks. Good luck second half.
Yeah, I'm not in there with Don Matthews, but I'm sure he wasn't really happy with this situation right here. Nobody around Nealon Green. The easy waltz into the end zone. It's a 1-point game.
Close game, good game. Right now, Brent Wallace is standing by with the Saskatchewan Roughriders head coach Danny Barrett.
Well, Coach, I guess the secret would be give the ball to Nealon Green the second half, just let him go with it.
That's the bottom line. He's come over, he's fired up, playing against his old coach and everything. But more importantly, we're in a rhythm. We just need to finish our drives on offense and be able to get some field goals if we can't even get any closer.
You're going to shut down Lawrence Phillips in the second half, or at least try?
Well, the bottom line is that we know he's going to run the football, and we got to find a way to get to him, but also be alert for the play action. We can't get sucked in with just eyeing one guy. We got to be alert for everything.
Good luck second half, Coach.
Thank you.
So here we go. Third quarter underway. 15-14 Montreal. Keith Stokes goes outside. Comes back inside and then is quickly met by a number of white jerseys. Stokes is dangerous though.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting for Saskatchewan. If you're covering Keith Stokes, basically, if you miss him the first time, keep working because you might get another crack at him. And it's the same story with Lawrence Phillips and trying to tackle him because so good at the cutback. And he has got the Montreal Alouettes rolling, both blocking, catching, and receiving. And there's how they compare the two running backs.
Shaw and Phillips with touchdowns apiece. Calvillo and Green touchdowns apiece has been the story. The only difference, a missed Terry Baker field goal. Calvillo goes deep. And it is caught by Woodcock. He had to come back to the football and made a great grab.
You know, in training camp, General Manager Jim Popp walked up to me and said, watch Pat Woodcock this year. He is going to be special. And he is well covered by Omar Morgan down the sideline. Look at that. You can't cover any better. He fought back for the football and somehow caught it, and I don't know how.
Woodcock gets some revenge from that earlier offensive interference call. 1st and 10 from the 35. Calvillo from the shotgun gives to Phillips. Going left side, head down, close to the 30-yard line.
I also love the call from Anthony Calvillo, who is now calling his own plays, because he comes out first play of the second half, and what does he do? He says, Pat, go as fast and as far as you can. I'm going to heave it up there, and let's get these defensive backs off of us. And he does that by going deep. Even if it's incomplete, he's sending a message.
Schoolyard football.
Absolutely.
Go deep, catch it. And he did. From the 31. Still in the shotgun. Calvillo. Looks middle. Has to roll out. Has some pressure. And gets out of bounds.
It's a decent run by Anthony Calvillo. And maybe he doesn't get enough credit for his ability to run with the football, because there's a couple of defenders there, including Big Ray Jacobs, that thought might have a good shot at him deep in the backfield, and he got to the outside, but it won't be enough, and Montreal will have to go for that field goal.
So Matthews calls on the field goal unit. Terry Baker missed one already tonight, hence that single point, the difference in this ball game. This from the 37. And it's wide right. But through the end zone, another single point.
What are the kickers eating these days? Go to
I don't want
BC.
any.
Now, Terry, don't want any.
So now the Riders to work, trailing by 2. Nealon Green, is he the missing link the Roughriders have coveted since Kent Austin?
In Canadian football, you can't win without a quarterback. And since Kent Austin, there's been 17 go through the revolving door at the position.
Those are the biggest names.
Yeah, including Henry Burris in there. And finally, they've got one they can win with.
1st and 10 from the 35. Green goes deep. And Derek Armstrong was wide open but couldn't catch up with the football. It looks like he was cut off from his route.
Well, it was one-on-one with Perry Carter on Derek Armstrong. Now, when Armstrong goes around, you could make an argument that Perry Carter did enough to slow him up enough to cause an interference call.
Derek Armstrong has been a weapon tonight for Nealon Green, and some of the sustained drives, they've been able to hang on to the football quite a bit. Armstrong is wide right. Rocky Henry wide left.
Perry Carter got away with one there.
Green hangs in the pocket. Reggie Lowe had a hand on him. Stephen Reed finally catching up with him.
Yeah, and Stephen Reed, the leader in that linebacking core for the Montreal Alouettes. And how important is this when you know what Nealon can do running the football? Stephon Reed has a lot of room to try and track him down, and there's room both sides. That's a tremendous open field tackle from the 8-year veteran.
Well, Don Matthews talked about his defense coming to play in this third quarter and stopping that the Roughriders running ability of Nealon Green, and that's what they did just now. 12 minutes to go, third quarter. McCallum. Stokes under him. That is 25. Cuts back inside. Certainly can put on the brakes in a hurry.
Now it's Calvillo's turn to get a drive going in this second half.
Sports Center coming up following the football tonight. James Duthie, Dan Pollard standing by. Baseball's back at it. I wonder if they're going to resume the All-Star game.
Well, this one's
at some future date.
Well, this one's pretty close, and all the players have played, so maybe we should just stop it right here.
First and 10 from the 35, Calvillo. Hands off to Lawrence Phillips. And just wills his way up to the 44-yard line.
Sheldon, the Pustek, had him twice. You know, and this is what Lawrence Phillips is so good at. It's a cut back and making a guy miss, because that should have been a 6-yard loss. That was all Lawrence Phillips. Not blocking up front. Sheldon, the Pustek, had him. Phillips got away.
He has been the bad boy in football over the last couple of years, but it has been all good so far in Montreal for Lawrence Phillips. Checkered past. Right now, he has been doing great things for the Montreal Alouettes early on in this season.
Well, you're right. I mean, in '96, when he was drafted by the Rams, you know, he was cut by the Rams in '97, signed in Miami. He left there and then went to San Francisco in '99. And then 2001 was probably the one year when he went over to Europe and played in Barcelona that he stayed out of trouble. And he put together a very nice season over there, rushed for over 1,200 yards, and was the league's MVP. So, you know, maybe those troubling times are behind him. And here in Montreal, they can only hope.
Who would have thought out that scenario, though, in the offseason, that Phillips would be here and Mike Pringle would be watching?
Yeah.
It's all, you would never thought that.
But it's a nice problem for Don Matthews to have. Future Hall of Famer and a guy like Lawrence Phillips on the same team.
Calvillo rolls right, comes back left, hangs on to it, and will slide to the Saskatchewan 53.
You know, both secondaries are doing a pretty nice job right now, and I'm talking about Riders and Alouettes, to cover up receivers downfield. We're seeing a lot of quarterbacks now running out of the pocket. Calvillo on that play. Nealon Green obviously has done a lot of running in this game. When the coverage breaks down, both quarterbacks not hesitating to go ahead and take off and run.
So another first down for Montreal. 10 minutes to go, third quarter. They lead by 2. Two undefeated teams coming into tonight. Calvillo in and out of the hands of Lawrence Phillips. No one around for the Riders to pick up the interception.
The entire first half, Lawrence Phillips ran this play about 4 or 5 times, but what he did is he stayed on the sideline. He stayed in the backfield, basically. That time, he got to the line of scrimmage and just beat Reggie Hunt across his face into the middle. He just couldn't hang on to the football, and that's a big, big gain. The strategy in football, when you try to set plays up by running a couple plays a certain way, and then down the road, is usually when you get down in the scoring range, you throw a different wrinkle at them.
Corey Grant comes wide right and has the reception down to the 38.
That's just Anthony Calvillo gunning it in there. Corey Grant's going to settle down into the zone defense nicely. He knows where the hole is. He has enough experience. Watch Anthony Calvillo. Steps up there. He's got a nice passing lane. Steps hard into it. The ball doesn't look pretty, but it gets there in a hurry.
One of those Canadian receivers, star at Wilfrid Laurier, Corey Grant. That's his first reception tonight. Everybody talked before the game about Ben Cahoon, who has been kind of silenced tonight by the Riders. Play action up the middle. Thomas Haskins down to the 2. Smallest player on the field with a big, big play.
Saskatchewan do not want to substitute with Thomas Haskins in the game. In other words, they don't want to bring in another defensive back because they like to leave Jackie Mitchell, who is a converted defensive back in the game, is now playing linebacker, and Haskins goes one-on-one with Jackie Mitchell. Awful difficult to cover this kind of pattern because it goes all the way across the field. This one is the tough one because you're in a chase. See Jackie Mitchell? He's in a chase now. Now he's just trying to catch up, but can I keep him out of the end zone is my only hope.
Hand off to Phillips. Does he make it? Yes, he does. Second touchdown of the night for Lawrence Phillips. What a drive by the Alouettes.
A couple of nice throws by Anthony Calvillo. Gets him down there.
Listen to this place. Party night in Montreal. Another sellout. These people have fun, win, lose, or draw, but I think they have a lot more fun when they're winning.
Which they've done a lot of over the last few years.
Extra point makes it 23-14.
This is just no quit from Lawrence Phillips. Denied on the doorstep, but keeps battling and finds the end zone.
Well, there they are, the three amigos. Lawrence Phillips, Anthony Calvillo, and Thomas Haskins responsible for that drive to the end zone. Haskins with a big play, and Lawrence Phillips his 5th touchdown already this season.
Haskins ran so fast he ran out of his shoulder pads. He had to go and replace them again and just get those things strapped back up because he is quick going across that field. And you're right, that was a key play in the drive. Calvillo hit him in stride, got him down to the goal line, and then Phillips finished things off.
So a 9-point Montreal lead. Baker sends it deep. And once again, Corey Holmes meets up with the Alouettes.
You got to show you that play one more time. This is Thomas Haskins at his best, and when he's a great weapon, and especially at the inside receiver position, because Newcomb goes down the field. When he does, he'll take the safety with him. So now Mitchell is really in a one-on-one, and you get in that one-on-one with Thomas Haskins, and boy, that's a tough position to be.
Well, every time the Alouettes have found daylight and gone ahead, the Roughriders have been able to answer. Can they bounce back now, trailing 23-14? 1st and 10 from the 34. Hand off to Cedric Shaw, who opened scoring the first drive of the ball game. It's been kind of quiet since that time.
They keep going with that same series, and that's the same series that is trying to influence the defensive ends and put them on an island, and that's to either give the ball to Cedric Shaw up the middle like they do, or else have Nealon Green keep it and go to the outside. They set it up early in the game. They scored with it with Green running 19 yards. That was in the second quarter, and they're sticking with that series of plays.
Pickup of 3. Green has his backs in motion. Takes it himself, but is met right there by Reggie Lowe and Stephon Reed. And they have absolutely neutralized Nealon Green in the second half.
What you try and do, in one way you can stop it defensively, or at least try and contain it, is to have one linebacker responsible for Nealon Green. In other words, don't give him a gap in the line of scrimmage. Don't ask him to blitz much. Just hang in there. And there's Stephon Reed. Now he's going to just sit there and you say, okay, if you're going to run, I'm going to wait for you to run. See how he just waits? He waits, he's patient, and bam, steps right up and makes a tackle.
So Paul McCallum back to punt. Once again, a busy night for Keith Stokes. This ball bounces back. And down at the 40-yard line. 30-yard punt. 4-yard return by Shaw. So the Alouettes going back to work. Anthony Calvillo, 1st and 10 from Montreal 49. Calvillo finds Bobby Newcomb. Pass midfield to the Saskatchewan 50.
4 receivers over to that side of the field for Anthony Calvillo. You know at least one of them is going to go deep. I'll show you the 4 receivers. So here they are. Bang, 2, 3, 4. Right there. Now that's to flood the zone. In other words, put more guys over there that you can really cover. A couple of guys go deep. Newcomb sits down. Bam, right there. The ball's delivered.
Bobby Newcomb's first catch tonight. 1st and 10 from the 50. Dump pass to Phillips. Met right there by Travis Smith.
You mentioned it, Rod, in the break. A key series here for the Saskatchewan defense. Again, momentum squarely on the shoulders of Lawrence Phillips in the house.
Phillips, by the way, we said 5 touchdowns. He actually has 6 this season. 3 touchdowns in 1 game against BC.
Right.
4 before tonight, 2 tonight. He's a leader by a long shot in that category.
So 5 here at home. So this home crowd is going to be, you know, cheering Lawrence Phillips on before long, and they didn't out of the gate.
2nd and 12. An incomplete pass.
You know, in game 1 against BC, because people were surprised to not see Pringle and that whole story, you know, Lawrence Phillips didn't get the reception he might have thought. In fact, at times he was booed, but if he keeps going at this pace with 6 touchdowns like you mentioned, he'll be a fan favorite before Labor Day.
Wow, no kidding. Mentioned Nebraska. Phillips played there. Bobby Newcomb played there. He actually broke Johnny Rogers' records, and Johnny Rogers was such a star here. The last time the Montreal Alouettes won the Grey Cup, Johnny Rogers was playing football here.
You are studying up on this football thing, aren't you?
Yeah. No sow calls yet.
Good job, buddy.
Out of bounds. 23-14 with 4.5 to go in the 3rd quarter on a beautiful night for football in this great city of Montreal. And next Thursday, British Open. Can Tiger go for the slam in a calendar year? He already has the slam. I don't care what anybody says. I wouldn't bet against him at Muirfield. 8 o'clock a.m. Eastern. Coverage begins all day long. First round next Thursday.
Now, is Calvillo in that? He had the hole-in-one recently. I'm just wondering if he got his exemption there.
Well, he got it at Lafleur Country Club here in Montreal. 125 yards. He used a driver. No, he didn't. Yeah.
I was going to say.
He threw it. He threw it.
So it was blind luck then, is what you're doing.
Pitching wedge.
Okay.
1st and 10 from the 22. Green. Play action to Shaw, and he's downed by Reggie Lowe. 2nd sack of the season for Reggie Lowe.
Reggie Lowe played it perfectly. He got some help up front, and I think it'll be a call against Saskatchewan as well, just to add insult to injury here. 9 sacks on the year for Montreal coming in. That was tied for first place in the Canadian Football League after 2 games.
Offside, Montreal, number 78. Holding, Saskatchewan, number 54, will repeat the down.
So they will repeat the down, and that sack is nullified. But Don Matthews knows Nealon Green very well. He coached him in Edmonton. In fact, one night Nealon Green set an all-time CFL record for rushing by a quarterback.
That's right, 180 yards, and it was against the Saskatchewan Roughriders right now, please.
And they have done a job on Nealon Green in this 2nd half.
Well, it's just a matter of being a little more disciplined up front for your defensive line. You almost can't rush them full.
Once again, the Alouettes defense on top of Saskatchewan. 1st and 15, and now 2nd and long.
And when I say that, what I'm meaning is like Rob Brown, Reggie Lowe, the big boys up front, you know, they're trained to just take off after the quarterback. But with Nealon Green, you almost have to say to the guys, listen, take about 4 steps upfield and then just throw the brakes on and make them throw the ball. Don't run past them and open up running lanes, or like we saw in the first half, you can see what can happen.
It was like a highway.
Yeah.
Green went through on his way to the end zone. Kevin Johnson watches. 2nd and 19. Riders need a big play here. Over the middle and caught by Dimitris Bedros. And another flag on the play.
Well, it's a good catch by Bedros if it stands, because there was a lot of traffic around him. He had to go up, knew he was going to get hit. Looks like it may stand.
Offside. Montreal, number 78. Penalties decline. First down.
So move the yardsticks. The Riders did. They needed 19. They got it.
Blitz coming from Montreal. That's Stephon Reed from the outside, usually in the middle, linebacker just hanging there. So that opens up the middle, but that's a pretty good catch in traffic. Baron Miles throwing the hit just as the ball arrives.
So a break for the Riders. Good catch by Bedros. Green.
Oh!
Still on his feet. Dances again to the sidelines. There he goes again. And past midfield. Nealon Green, just when you think you've got him.
Oh, and Stephon Reed Rod thought he had him. And boy, he had him. He bared down on him. And if you make Stephon Reed miss, you're doing something. That's one of the best tacklers in the game right there. He stepped past him. He didn't control himself right when he got to the point of attack. And look at Nealon Green go.
Seems to be the game plan. Let number 15 hang on to it. And it's working. 29-yard gain. 1st and 10 from the Alouette 50. Inside to Cedric Shaw. He plows for 3 or 4.
Well, if he can stay healthy and he keeps running the way he is, quarterback leading the league in rushing, possibility?
Well, yes.
With the way he runs, yes, because
he calls his own number so many times.
And he basically is a running back when he gets the ball under his arm. You know, once he gets out there in the open field, he is a running back, and why not? He just has to stay healthy.
Stephon Reed had him, had the sack. Suddenly the Riders are in scoring position from the 45. 2nd and 6.
Here they come.
Blitz is on.
Yep.
Not this time. And another flag on the play.
Well, he strong-armed that one just to throw it. Now, did the ball cross the line of scrimmage? There's a flag down right near where the ball bounced, which would indicate intentional grounding. But Nealon Green right now is explaining that if the ball is thrown past the line of scrimmage, I don't need a receiver in the area.
He was hog-collared, and he was still able to get the ball away.
There was also some movement at the line of scrimmage prior to the snap of the ball, so
looks like Danny Barrett caught that toss. Quarterback always wants the ball, huh?
And if they win, he may keep it.
Offside. Montreal. Repeat 2nd down.
Well, they got the offside first. Lots of movement up at the line of scrimmage. I believe Reggie Lowe got a little antsy. He's right here in your screen. Take a look at him just before the ball is snapped. He jumps into the neutral zone. Boom. Can't put the brakes on before the snap of the ball. So that was the first flag, and I believe that ball went past the line of scrimmage, so there was no intentional grounding.
The Riders have had a couple of breaks. The Alouettes have been jumpy at the line tonight. They go back to the first drive of the ball game. 1.5 minutes left here in the 3rd quarter. Handoff to Zarka, and he steamrolls inside the 15-yard line. What a play by Chris Zarka.
Well, it was a good call because the linebackers, including Stephon Reed, had snuck up to the line of scrimmage thinking run. They knew they were going to get run, but it was a ways down. See how close to the line of scrimmage Stephon Reed is? Only about a yard off. See, now he can't react and get back to make that tackle. If you see this line of scrimmage, see those guys are the linebackers up there, all way up on the line of scrimmage. They only have one shot, and that's if Zarka comes right to him.
Good job of disguising the play at first by Nealon Green and the Riders, and Zarka looked like Zonka.
Yeah, and it's actually a good comparison when you think about it, but it is a good call for Nealon Green because in second and real short like that, the defensive backs have to think pass first. That's a waste down. You can come back on 3rd down and get a few inches. So It's a ways down, but Zarka picked up big yardage on it anyway.
It will be 1st and 10 from the 15. We have a timeout on the field. 1:07 to go, third quarter, 23-14 Owls. Friday night football tomorrow night from Iverwin. The Ticats and the Stampeders, 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific. Tim Strickland, the injured Alouette, on the field.
You know, the other thing, you saw the Owls sneak up on that last play, Rod. I'd like to give a little bit of credit, too, to the big guys up front, and one of them in Gene Mikowski, who gets the Riders really in striking distance in a crucial drive in this game. Gene Mikowski in his 8th season, longest serving Rough Rider at this point, number 60. Look at him right here. He not only takes his man down, but he also gets enough inside to chip Kevin Johnson and not allow 44 to get to the play either. So basically, Gene Mikowski takes out 2 to give Chris Zarka a hole.
Just when you may have thought that the Rough Riders were getting stuffed by the Alouettes in this third quarter, credit Mikowski and Nealon Green, and the Riders are right back in the red zone here. Big drive. Zarka gets the call again. Down to the 9, pickup of 6.
This kind of series is tough on a defensive line because if you're running up the middle like Zarka is now, you're worried and concerned about the running game, but you have to be wide enough. See, look at the defensive line. Here's one, and here's the next one. That's a big hole, but the splits, they're called splits in between the linemen. They become bigger when you have a running quarterback that can stretch the outside, which opens up the middle a little bit more.
Inside 20 seconds, 2nd and 4. Shaw goes outside, will try to get out of bounds, and he does, with 9.8 seconds left in the quarter.
Very close. He's up there close to that first down yardage, and it was that last step that he took just before he went out of bounds. You only need 1 foot in bounds. And I think he had 1 in and 1 out when he got that extra half a yard. They will have to measure this one. That's how close it is.
Shaw got the game-opening touchdown tonight. Riders led 7-0, then fell behind 15-7. And it's a first down. So 1st and goal now for Saskatchewan.
You know, over the last 2 years, this Rough Rider team would have probably folded the tents a couple of times in this game. But now with Nealon Green at the controls, you can see the confidence coming out of the huddle. Even though they're down, even though Montreal had the momentum, this team feels like it can come back, and it is.
Last play of the third quarter. Green, the pitch to Shaw, but right there for the tackles, Reggie Lowe. Nowhere for Shaw to go.
They were patient enough up front, Montreal, to string this one out just enough. And it may be only 5 yards to the end zone, but it's a long 5 if you're Saskatchewan right now.
We got ourselves a ball game in Montreal, and I think Rider fans watching all across the province of Saskatchewan should be pretty happy with what they're seeing from their team. A lot of resiliency on the road, stuff we didn't see really from the Riders in the past couple seasons.
Absolutely right, Dave. The Saskatchewan Roughriders were responding to Montreal, shoving the ball down their throat there in the third quarter. They're on a long drive themselves, and we see Nealon Green in a critical 2nd and 15 situation where he's getting pressured. Awesome job by the offensive line from Saskatchewan. Nealon feels a little heat, and he steps to his left, creating a lane for himself to see Bendros coming this way, and he throws a strike. And I guarantee you, Demetrius Bendros, if he continues to give up his body for balls like this across the middle, Nealon Green will find him. I'm telling you, that's a great play. Headsy, ballsy play by this team coming up big for in the third quarter, responding to Montreal.
Gotta love a guy who give up his body, eh? So I want to talk a little bit about Montreal. Going back to the theme, I talked about how Cavillo on every play has got receivers working well against zone, others working well against man-to-man. Here he's going to have his 2 outside receivers in the zone package, and he's got Haskins and Cahoon, who are more the man-to-man guys. Now, we're going to roll it here a little bit. I guarantee you these two guys here, Haskins and Cahoon, are running a pick play in case they run man. But Saskatchewan goes zone. Cavillo sees that. Here's number 2, Evans. Omar Evans is a guy in the middle, and they're just playing keep away. Cavillo's simply going to throw to the guy that Evans leaves alone. He can't possibly be right. Unfortunately for Evans, he is in a no-win situation there. It's not his fault. It's just a great execution by the Montreal offense.
And, Chuck, I want to talk about Lawrence Phillips because I have to admit something. When I heard he signed with the Montreal Alouettes, I was like, why would you sign this guy? Then he left in training camp. Then he came back, and I was like, come on, what are you doing? But I see different things. He scores the touchdown here, and look at who he's talking to with the level of enthusiasm. Tells me he's a team guy.
And a quick update from Ottawa, 17-14 for the Renegades.
Back at McGill University campus, Molson Stadium. And now the Roughriders trying to answer back after a quarter dominated by the Montreal Alouettes. Second down, 4 yards to go to the end zone. Green to Zarka, and they won't get there.
They won't get there. Now the question is to Danny Barrett. You've got a ton of time left, but you're this close against a very good defense
that has stuffed you on short yardage plays the last 2 times.
Reggie Lowe 2 plays ago, and this is why it becomes more of a gamble. Look at Reggie Lowe take Nealon Green, make him pitch it, and then make the tackle on Cedric Shaw. Right after that, he goes to Shaw and he says, hey, you know what? That was me. Yeah, I tackled you, and I will tackle you again. You keep trying to do that. Cedric says, yeah, wait till I get. I love that part of the game.
You do that well. We don't even need microphones. So,
I've been in a few of those scrums in my time.
Lowe and the Alouettes really are making this decision for Danny Barrett after that defensive stand. That's why McCallum's on the field to try to pull the Roughriders within 6 points. So 23-17 now, 4th quarter underway in Montreal. The CFL's all-time winningest coach trying to go 3-0, but the Saskatchewan Roughriders are not going quietly.
So far, this is the kind of game that, as a former defensive player, you hate to see. Look at all the first downs, both teams. Look at the rushing yards, and then 300 yards. Time of possession is balanced. This is the kind of game that, as a defensive player, you go, oh, boy, it's a long day at the office.
So the Alouettes offense back to work. Cavillo gives to Lawrence Phillips. Oh, my goodness. Knocks over a sign, knocks over an official.
Look out.
And that was Frank Chapman who took the hit. Here we go. Right at you. Oh, yikes.
Yeah, when the trains come, and get out of the way of the train. It's a good thing the official's okay.
You got to keep your head up when you're around the sidelines, and that goes for even those people who aren't officials.
Yeah. Camera crews, sound crews down there.
2nd and 9. Calvillo again in the shotgun. Goes long. Haskins couldn't get there. Thrown a little too deep for Thomas Haskins, who has made some big catches tonight.
Well, he has, and just as we say, it could become a tough game all around for defenses. Saskatchewan's defense comes up with a big stand, and if, that was the gamble that Danny Barrett takes when he kicks a field goal 2 yards away from the goal line and doesn't gamble there, because now he's saying, okay, look, we'll take the 3 points. We're in scoring range. My defense will come out, hold them 2 and out. We'll get the ball back and move it down again.
39-year-old Terry Baker back at his 22-yard line. Once again, it's Holmes, has to go outside, shakes off a tackle and has some room, but got tripped up near the 50-yard line. Good run there by Corey Holmes, and that's where the Riders will begin their drive. 20,002, 30 straight sellouts. Whenever you're having a bad day or you think you have to turn your life around, think about this franchise. What a success story. They're not even thinking now about the years of ownership problems, the years when the team folded and the stadium problems. This has been unbelievable, the turnaround in Montreal. Now the Roughriders back to work. Nealon Green to Zarka.
Well, it really has been an unbelievable turnaround, and there's the move to this stadium. You get the right atmosphere. It's now become as big as there's a flag on this play, as big a story here in Montreal, and in a lot of ways bigger than the Montreal Canadiens. And that's saying something with the history of that team. But winning helps. And when you win at home, like the Montreal Alouettes have done over the last 5 years.
Look to go 3-0 again tonight. One of their losses last year, by the way, came against Saskatchewan. Here, their first win in Montreal since 1986. So the Roughriders, even though they had a less than desirable season last year, know what it's like to win at Molson Stadium. First down, 20 yards to go after the holding call. Green, the lob to Zarka, who has become a favorite target tonight, and Zarka has all kinds of room, and he's way down to the Saskatchewan 25-yard line.
Oh, Chris Zarka, he just needed one more block, and it was, I believe, Andrew Green all the way down the field. A well-executed play that's going to come out to this side. This is a screen play to the right to Zarka, the quarterback's left. Watch how he opens up. Now down at the end of this play, big Andrew Green, if he turns his back, actually it wasn't Green, it was Donald Heaven. See, if he turns around and picks up that block, Zarka scores.
Gain of 43, Zarka takes a breather. Green back to work, 1st and 10 from the 27. Fires to Jason French, breaks a tackle, and is down to the 14-yard line.
Yeah, another great drive going here. The Saskatchewan Roughriders. Is there some balance now? You get in a second or 1st and long situation, you run that screen pass to Chris Zarka. Now you work the sidelines and go out there to Jason French as Green puts this one right into your bowl of popcorn.
And took a couple of good pops, but hung on to the football. And the Riders are rolling here. Lots of time left, 4th quarter. Saskatchewan trailing 23-17. Green. And he's sacked by Reggie Lowe, who had a sack taken away in the 3rd quarter, but that time won't have that one taken away, and will move the Riders back to the 25.
It's a coverage sack because watch how these linemen up front here, watch how controlled they are. There's Lowe on the outside. Control, control, control. Took all that time to get back in the backfield, and when they did, Nealon Green couldn't escape. No one took off too quickly. 4 steamboats, 5 steamboats, and there's Lowe patiently waiting for Green to come to him.
Nealon Green, 2nd and 21. Rocky Henry has been very quiet so far tonight. No catches. Cedric Shaw has nowhere to go. And this will bring out Paul McCallum and the field goal unit for Danny Barrett and the Saskatchewan Roughriders.
See the strength of Cedric Shaw, though, when he was almost tackled there. I believe it was Kevin Johnson, basically just threw him aside. It would bring McCallum on anyway, but Kevin Johnson's big, strong linebacker at 240.
So a chance here to pull within 3 with 10:39 to go.
McCallum 1 for 1 tonight and is the only kicker in the last 2 games to make one. Actually, that's not fair because Noel Prefontaine, I believe, had one for Toronto.
Yeah, it hasn't been a banner start for the kickers so far this season, but right through the pipe. 23-20 now. Close one at Molson Stadium on TSN. Sports Center's coming up after the game. 23-20 right now, 3-point game. The Owls in front. Let's join Brent Wallace right now with an injury update.
Thanks very much, guys. Tim Strickland has come back out and sitting on the bench, but he has right now what they're calling a mild separation of the right shoulder. Don't know how long he's going to be out, but they'll reevaluate him tomorrow. Guys?
Calvillo gets it off. Was stalled there for a moment. Bobby Newcomb was open. It looked like Calvillo was going to be stopped by the Roughriders, and the ball is now up to the 40-yard line.
Well, again, now Anthony Calvillo, he knows that 3 points, the way the Saskatchewan offense has been moving the football, is probably not going to be enough to win this game. And Nealon Green, the way he's running and controlling things offensively for Saskatchewan, move the ball down there in a hurry.
Second down, 5 yards to go from the 40. Calvillo, loads of time. Haskins has loads of room. Down to the 42 of Saskatchewan, and Thomas Haskins is having himself a game tonight.
Well, again, it's just timing. Thomas Haskins is going to come all the way from one side of the field to the other, and I love what he does at the end of the play. He's going to come across the field this way and just get wider than any of the defenders. And when he does, watch the end of the play. Here he comes all the way across, wider than any of the defenders. Now watch it. As he goes down that sideline, rather than run out of bounds, what does he do? He says, no way, I'm coming back in the middle. Let's see if I can get a few more.
Couple of crossing patterns have stung the Riders tonight. 4 catches over 100 yards for Thomas Haskins. Calvillo again from the 43. Under pressure, intended for Newcomb.
They're trying to go deep down the left sideline, and as we've seen in the previous play to Thomas Haskins, a lot of crossing patterns, and the reason for that is to pick people off. That time, Newcomb and Haskins are the crossing patterns, and on the left side of the play, everyone goes deep down the field to just try and change it up. It doesn't work.
Calvillo with a good number more passing yards than Nealon Green, but keep in mind, Green's offense has come from his feet. A lot of rushing yards for the Saskatchewan quarterback, and be a do-over here, penalty flag on the play.
Just a matter of who was first here. There was all kinds of movement up front.
Riders and the Owls both undefeated before tonight. Edmonton also
Montreal,
undefeated.
number 13.
They play
Repeat second down.
Toronto on Saturday night, so after tonight and by the weekend, the ranks of the undefeated will diminish.
Absolutely. That's something, that last penalty, Rod, that you don't see much of, is a quarterback getting a procedure call. And he's not allowed to deliberately try and draw the other team offside by bobbing his head.
Motion for the Owls, 2nd and 15. Ben Cahoon with the grab. His 3rd catch tonight, down to the 22.
Show you the difficulties that Travis Smith and Jason Mallett have on this play. When you take a look at this, Travis Smith right here. Okay, watch his head. There's Mallett. He's gone to the opposite side because that's the wide side of the field. But watch Travis Smith, what he's got to deal with. He's got his head right, left. I look right, I look left. I got a guy over here, I got a guy over there. See, I'm in between and I'm just covering the hash marks.
Clutch grab by Cahoon. 2nd and long at that point. 1st and 10. And Lawrence Phillips. In case you were wondering, Ben Cahoon does not carry a Canadian passport, but he is deemed a non-import.
Absolutely, because he spent a lot of his youth in Canada, in Edmonton, Montreal. And what you have to be designated as a non-import is either be born here or play high school football in Canada. So Ben Cahoon gets that non-import status.
Former Cougar, Brigham Young. And Ben Cahoon now has 15 catches on the season. Receiving leader in the CFL. 2nd and 7 from the 20.
Here they come.
Blitz is on. Calvillo dodges it, but will only pick up a couple.
Yeah, and I love the call. I love the call defensively for Saskatchewan, and what that's saying is, let's take our chance right now. You know, you've got him in 2nd and long, and let's send the house and see if we can't force him to kick a field goal.
And Terry Baker has missed 2 field goals tonight.
And it's always a gamble when you blitz everybody, because it only takes one defensive back to slip, one receiver to get open, and it's a touchdown. The gamble pays off for the Riders, and Terry Baker has to come on the field.
So the Alouettes did a great job defensively in the 3rd quarter. Even though the Owls are in scoring position. Saskatchewan has to feel like they've come away with something here, not allowing the Alouettes to get a major. Can Baker put it through this time? Yes, he does. And it's a 6-point ball game with 6:10 to go in the fourth. Nealon Green back to work when we come back. Just an awesome night for weather and football tonight in Montreal. Tomorrow night, Friday Night Football on TSN. Calgary Stampeders struggling out of the gate against the Hamilton Tiger Cats.
Yeah, that's going to be like backing an angry horse and an angry cat into a corner.
What up with the Stamps?
Some changes defensively that they have to figure out a way to settle in on.
Nealon Green launches one, but no one around. And under 6 minutes to go, Green and the Riders look to go to the end zone, I'm sure. Keep in mind, when this ball game began, he used up 6 minutes of the clock to get the first major. Would like to do that right here.
You see who's in for Strickland there. Patrick Dorvelis gets a chance to play. Nealon Green is going to try and possibly isolate him, I would think.
But it's second down, 10 yards to go. There's Dorvelis, 25-year-old rookie out of Hofstra.
Looks like they'll just send him. He's lined up right on the edge right there.
Green comes right this time. Throws on the run.
Oh, he gunned it.
Bedras had to go high to make that grab, but couldn't.
Yeah, he threw that ball so hard. Demetrius Bedras really had, I mean, it blew by him before he even put his hands up. He didn't have much time to get it in there. And here comes the throw, and it was gone before Bedras had a chance.
It was a rocket right through his hands.
It was first down territory.
So McCallum back to punt. Keith Stokes once again back for the Alouettes. A couple of times tonight looked like he was ready to break one. And a flag on the play. Ball comes back to midfield. McCallum is there. But the Alouettes are on the football. Now we have to take a look. The penalty flags, a 21-yard punt. Thanks to that little backspin.
Of course, McCallum, Rod, can get up in there, and he is not part of the no yards rule because he's the kicker. In fact, the kicker or anyone behind the kicker can go ahead and recover a punt. So it's a matter of whether or not any other Rough Rider was in there, as Paul McCallum will discuss that rule with the officials. So you know it was me that was in the no yards area, right?
And the question mark is that first flag that was thrown in the backfield. And it was a procedure call against Saskatchewan.
And a no yards, it looks like. So there was someone else in there.
One thing that the Riders don't want is to get the Alouettes down to the red zone or anywhere near the 40 or 30-yard line, because Baker could put a last march out of reach.
Well, here's the choices that Anthony Calvillo had there as he saw him talking to Glenn Johnson. Here comes the announcement.
Procedure, Saskatchewan, illegal formation. That penalty is declined. No yards, Saskatchewan. Be first down, Montreal.
See, the formation penalty, had Calvillo taken that one, he would have forced Saskatchewan to kick the ball again. The way they took the no yards penalty and declined the first one, now they've got decent field position. In fact, they're in Saskatchewan's end of the field.
So a big defensive stand needed here for the Riders. The Alouettes could seal the deal here with 5 minutes to go if they can hang on to the football for a sustained period of time. Lawrence Phillips just churning up the yards tonight.
Yeah, Lawrence Phillips has really been the guy that has helped Calvillo throughout this game, because when you have to worry so much about the running back, it just, number one, it gives your quarterback time to throw, and when he has time to throw, he can look all over the field, and that kind of pass distribution would indicate one thing. Anthony Calvillo has had his time. He's gone to different people at different times in the game, and that's due to the time he's had in the pocket.
Spreading out the wealth. 2nd and 7 from the 47. That one was tipped. So the Riders defense does the job on Calvillo this time.
Now Don Matthews has a decision to make, whether or not you try a field goal from this far out, or you decide to try and kick a punt and pin them back. And I believe what he'll try and do is punt the football. Remember, if you miss a field goal, it can be run out. And on a field goal team, it's the offensive linemen that are covering on a miss. In the punt team, there's a lot more linebackers and defensive backs, people who are good at tackling the open field, and that's why he's electing to punt the ball.
Wondering if anybody's a little gun shy after what happened in the BC game the other night, too. This one directed out of bounds down to about the 14-yard line. So that's where the Saskatchewan Roughriders will try to rally here with 4 minutes to go, trailing by 6.
Well, last week, the hero for Saskatchewan was Derek Armstrong with a big game over 130 yards, a couple of touchdowns. Could he be the guy for Saskatchewan? Remember, Nealon Green has been through this scenario this year. In the first game of the season versus the Ottawa Renegades, he had to bring the team all the way down the field with time running out to force overtime, and he got it done.
Ottawa Renegades on the field tonight with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Tight one at Frank Clair Stadium. Close one here at Molson Stadium. 1st and 10 from the 13. Wide out to Jason French. And he takes it out and stops the clock around the 35-yard line, 30-yard line.
Jason French has had a pretty good night tonight. You know, he's getting a chance to play here. He's had 5 catches in this game already and is an important part of this first one just to get a little momentum.
Surprised they have not used and gone to number 82, Rocky Henry, yet.
Well, he's their veteran, and it is a little surprising. But it could be something that Montreal is doing defensively.
Henry had 9 catches before tonight, has not even had a ball thrown to him.
Well, Henry's been over there working on Perry Carter, and he's been into the boundary a lot. In other words, on the short side of the field. So give credit to Perry Carter in that one-on-one matchup. There's number 20, so he's walking right up on him now.
Nealon Green, 3.5 to go. Handoff to Cedric Shaw, goes left side, comes back into the middle, and then, boy, a lot of work there. Those legs just do not stop.
Well, I mean, if you're a Saskatchewan Roughrider fan, and I know how many there are, and it's not just in the province of Saskatchewan either.
You would know.
It is.
You would know.
And it's been a long time before they've had a team that they could be really, really proud of. And win or lose in this game tonight, they watch this game, they have a team they can be proud of.
Last time they went 3-0 was 1988. They went 11-7 that year, lost in the Western semifinal. The next year, they won the Grey Cup. They could go 3-0 tonight. 3-minute warning on the field. Is it my imagination, Mr. Suits, or is there a playoff-type atmosphere in here tonight?
Well, it really is. You can feel the tension. Here's the game story so far. 5 touchdown drives over 75 yards. Both teams moving the ball well. Lawrence Phillips with a big night, but we've left this bottom one down here because it's that close, and Nealon Green's played pretty well, so it's still to be determined.
If you're voting for the player of the game, the odds on right now, Lawrence Phillips, but number 15, if he can lead his team right now, there would be no doubt. 3 minutes to go at Molson Stadium. 26-20 Montreal, 2nd and 2 from the 37. And Chris Zarka has been a factor tonight too.
He has. He's got a couple of key first downs and a big screen pass for huge yardage that led to a field goal. You know, and now the game is in Nealon Green's hands.
What a great weapon Chris Zarka is. He's almost automatic from that range.
Well, yeah, when you know the other team knows you can run the ball and you can still get that 2 yards, that's when you know you have a running game.
1st and 10. Riders looked across midfield and maybe more. Green, under some pressure, threw it out of bounds.
Yeah.
And we got a little bit of a slugfest going on. The 30-yard line.
You got to be careful in there. You don't want to be that last punch in the pocket as Rob Brown gets into it. He was not happy with the way he was treated. But if you're the last punch that's thrown, you're getting the flag.
I don't think the officials saw it. Didn't see any orange on the field. Did you?
No.
I don't think so.
They're going to let him play so far.
So look out for Armstrong. Bendros, Jason French has been big tonight. Rocky Henry has been quiet. But watch number 15 here, 2nd and 10. Green dances again, up to midfield.
Oh, boy. You don't have an answer defensively when he can do this with the football, because everything is drawn up perfectly for Montreal. They have the coverage they want. The pocket is starting to collapse on Nealon Green, and then the part you can't coach kicks in.
You have got to love watching this guy.
This is a long yard, buddy.
3rd down, 1 yard to go. Could be a huge play in this ball game. Just over 2 minutes left. Zarka, does he get it? Yes, he does.
Whoa, you know what? I'll tell you something. It looked to me like Chris Zarka almost thought about leaving his feet and trying to jump over the pile, but then the pile wasn't really there, so he got back down grounded.
I think that would have been a wrong decision.
Yeah, I agree.
So 2:07 left. Zarka takes a break. He has been a battering ram tonight for Danny Barrett and the Riders.
Take one more look at Chris Zarka. He gets the line. See, I thought right there he thought about jumping, going over the pile. But Jeremy O'Day had got pushed back about a yard, so that made Zarka regroup, but he got it anyway.
1st and 10 from the Saskatchewan 51. Green in the shotgun. Going deep. Has a man, but he can't get him. And that time, he was looking for Rocky Henry, and he was open on that pattern.
Yeah, frustrating it has to be for Rocky Henry is you get a good look at him right here. See, open on the play on Wayne Shaw. In fact, Shaw almost had to grab him, but that one time that Rocky Henry is wide open, ball's not there.
Kind of looked like he lost his footing again.
There's been a couple little grabs by defensive secondary that they've got away with, and you credit the officials in some way. Let them play.
Another big play, 2nd and 10. Riders need a 1st down. Green will run again. And he fumbles the football. Alouettes have it.
He's going to argue this. He thinks he was down. He thinks he was down, and the ground cannot make you fumble. Now, they will talk about this one. Nealon Green dove forward, but then he flipped over onto his back. Was his back on the ground before that ball flipped out?
Well, the officials will commiserate. Danny Barrett has been in that situation before many times. Let's take a look now.
Oh boy, this is going to be close. Look at this. Nealon Green. See, here comes the dive. The ball is in his arms there. His hands are down, and then the ball comes out. I think Nealon Green was on the ground before that ball came out.
The officials are saying no.
Oh, baby.
They're saying it's Montreal football. What a moment to have that happen.
Well, they can't believe it, and they were arguing immediately.
Danny Barrett doesn't like the call. Neither does Nealon Green. 1.5 minutes left. 26-20. The Riders were on the run. Nealon Green had them over center field.
One more look. That is in the control of Nealon Green. The football right there. It's still in his control. Now his knee hits the ground right now, and the ball is still there. He turns around, and then the ball comes out. It happens in a split second, but he looked down to me.
So now the Alouettes will hang on to the football. 2 touchdowns tonight for Lawrence Phillips. A game punctuated by 1 turnover. The late going here by Nealon Green in the fumble. 2nd down, 4 yards to go. Saskatchewan needs to be tough here. Phillips gets the 1st down.
That's a key 1st down for Montreal, but let's take one more look at the fumble by Green. Now, if the guys can just freeze it as his left knee gets close to the ground. Right now, the ball is in his control. Here comes the tacklers, and Green is trying to dive. Now, if we can see it, and I don't know if it's going to be covered, he's got the ball now, and right about there is where the knee touches the ground, and the ball is still in his hands right there. The knee's on the ground, he turns around onto his back, and it pops out.
Inside a minute now. Phillips over the century mark, rushing. If the officials had been able to take a look at it, would they make a different call, you think?
Well, I think if they could see it again, they probably would. And it happens in a split second, and the officials have to decide very quickly. We're slowing it down from different angles for you, but I believe the knee is down now. He's got the ball. When the shoulder hits is when the ball pops out.
Without instant replay, though, very difficult call to make.
No question, no question. And it happens in a split second. Both Danny Barrett and Nealon Green got up arguing immediately because he had the first down as well.
So 46.8 seconds left, 26-20. The Riders looked like they were heading to the end zone, or chance to at least get a little closer in this ball game, and they needed that play by Nealon Green. Nealon's knee, was it down or not? They'll be talking about that one, I'm sure, for a while. Second and 5. Phillips is rocked.
Oh boy.
He shake him up. Ray Jacobs.
Ray Jacobs is not finished yet.
Penalty flag is on the play, and it's against Saskatchewan.
Oh boy.
Which would pretty much seal it.
That ices it.
Too many men.
Too many men on the field. What a penalty to take at this stage of the ball game.
Well, you see Harold Smith, the quarterback's coach, out there counting, and he still can't figure it out, but that will ice it.
Oh my goodness.
I think Omar Evans headed off the field. And
because Saskatchewan, if that play stands, might get the ball back, albeit for not much time, but still another shot.
30 seconds is about 4 or 5 plays. But, you know, full credit to the Montreal Alouettes, despite the one close call by the officials on the fumble by Nealon Green. Lawrence Phillips played tremendous from start to finish.
Well, he's the winner of tonight's game ball, brought to you by SportCheck.ca, Canada's choice for sports. And right now there is no argument in Montreal who should be in the backfield for the Alouettes.
Well,
Lawrence Phillips is doing the job.
And I just think what he did tonight was not just the 100 yards, but he did things away from the ball that were effective. The blocking was key for Lawrence Phillips. A few key catches out of the backfield, and those are the things away from the play that can make the difference for you. I thought they did tonight.
Montreal Alouettes will go to 3-0 again. And the Saskatchewan Roughriders may hang their heads a little bit, but have no reason to, because they played the Owls head to head.
Oh, and Nealon Green was on a roll when that close call happened and the fumble was called a fumble. So who knows what could have been if he gets the first down there. But hey, full credit to the Montreal Alouettes, who weathered the storm and weathered that last drive to hang on and win.
Anthony Calvillo with another complete pass. That one to a lucky fan in the stands as the Alouettes make it 3-0. 26-20 is the final.
6 straight years the Montreal Alouettes have gone 3-0.
Now if they can sustain this, though, remember how they ended the season. They want to keep this thing going.
That's a very good point, because they certainly didn't end it the way they started it and the way they have started in the past. And Danny Barrett may be sending a tape into the league, and he'll have to regroup for next week in Saskatchewan.
Montreal beats Green's Riders by 6 on TSN. Time now for the TSN Turning Point. This one's a gimme.
Yeah, we'll go back to the last offensive drive for the Saskatchewan Roughriders, down by 6 and moving the ball into scoring territory. When this happened, 1:32 left. Controversial call. Nealon Green goes down. It looked like he was down. The ball comes out, and the refs say that this is a fumble, and the Montreal Alouettes take it, and that ends it.
One more look At our turning point tonight, a cash donation will be made to the Canadian Coaches Association for the training and development of amateur coaches across Canada on behalf of TSN. Riders' undefeated string is over. Alouettes have won 3 in a row to begin the new season. Let's send it back to the studio. Here's Dave Randor.
Thanks, Rod. Yeah, the Alouettes are 3-0. They really had to work for it because the Saskatchewan Roughriders came to play, and despite having the momentum taken away from them early in the second half, they withstood the pressure and came back, and they had the ball moving. And of course, this one was decided on the lone turnover in this ball game, and it's going to be a very controversial one, certainly in Regina and all over Saskatchewan. Jock, what'd you think?
Well, what an unfortunate way to decide the football game. You know, this was a fantastic football game. It was seesaw, long drives, both quarterbacks playing exceptionally well, and now Saskatchewan, I mean, they might be rioting in the streets of Regina tonight because this is a clearly down by contact. The ball pops out. Maddie, what are the refs thinking here?
Well, Tuesday night, you know, we had a controversial play towards the end of the ball game. In fact, it was the end of the ball game, BC. And everybody's been talking about that. I've been getting email after email about that one, and I know I'll be getting some emails about this one from Rider fans. I look at a situation where there's 2 quality football teams going at it. The resiliency that Saskatchewan showed coming back, showing the confidence that they had the ability to come back, not going for it on third down, kicking the field goals, knowing that they would be competitive and put themselves in a situation to win late, shows me that Danny Barrett's got this team headed in the right direction.
Well, you made a great point because there was only the 1 turnover, but I think even in the loss, the Saskatchewan Roughriders proved that they are a very competitive football team. All you have to do is go over the scores. It was 7-0 Saskatchewan, then 15-7 Montreal, 15-14 Montreal, 22-14, 23-17, 23-20. It ended up 26-20. What does that say to me? That the Saskatchewan Roughriders, every time Montreal looked like they were going to extend their lead, they were able to respond and get some points. That is the difference between the team this year and perhaps the team the previous number of years.
Saskatchewan will regroup, go home, look at the film, get ready for Edmonton next Friday night, while Calgary will be the next target for the Montreal Alouettes. Tough way to lose, but Montreal wins it 26-20.
Wendy's CFL Live on TSN is brought to you by Wendy's. Wendy's Classic Double with cheese is made fresh right when you order it. It's better here. By Molson Canadian. I am Canadian. And by Moore's Clothing for Men. Well made, well priced, well dressed.
Well, we could have history tonight at Frank Clair Stadium. There's about a minute to go, and the Ottawa Renegades have a 3-point lead looking for their first win in franchise history. Donnie Ashley got a touchdown with about 4 minutes to go. They went for the 2-point convert and got that. This after blowing a 17-0 lead. You know, Winnipeg was going to make them work for it, but we'll have to see. Eric Tillman's team could get their first win tonight. That about does it for us tonight. Good ball game tonight, Matty.
It certainly was. I'm glad to hear that Joe Powpow went for 2 out there in Frank Clair Stadium.
Mark Nora. He said, hey, we got to go because we need the extra point anyway. But anyway, we got to fly. On behalf of Schulte and Matty and Jock, we'll be back tomorrow night for Wendy's Friday Night Football. The Calgary Stampeders are searching for their first win of the season. They'll be taking on the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Coming up moments from now, the next edition of the TSN Sports Center, James Duthie, Dan Pollard are standing by and ready to go, so stay tuned. Tonight it was 26-20 at Molson Stadium in Montreal. The Montreal Alouettes, led by Anthony Calvillo and their super running back Lawrence Phillips, get it done and improve their record to 3-0, despite a game performance by the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll talk to you tomorrow night. You are watching TSN, Canada's sports leader.